think about your Facebook group is that you get to orchestrate the experience from lead to buyer. And so you always want to be laying those breadcrumbs for each step that you want them to take.
Welcome to the Online Genius Podcast, where host and renegade thinking beer brewing lawyer turned online entrepreneur Bobby Klink proves that building and protecting your online genius doesn't have to be rocket science. Bobby and his expert guests break down online marketing and the legal stuff so you can stop sweating the small stuff and get back to building your amazing business. Now, here's your host, Bobby Klink.
Hey there. Welcome to episode 71 of the Online Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klink, and I'm really excited for today's episode. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, one of my favorite ways to kind of market your business, and that is Facebook groups. Now, a few weeks ago, I did an episode all about using other people's Facebook groups to build your business and kind of get leads, etc. Today, we're going to flip it around and we're going to talk about building your business with your own Facebook group. Basically, how do you create a Facebook group? How do you get it engaged? How do you generate leads and business from a Facebook group? If you can do this, it is a game changer. And this is something that, I'm working on myself, but I have a friend who's an expert on it. So I decided to bring her on. Her name is Christina Jandali, and she is an expert at this. She's a confidence boosting, cash creating business growth strategist who helps online business owners stand out, get seen, and create six-figure plus profits using the power of a free Facebook group. This is what she does day in and day out. She's also a member of my mastermind that I'm in, James Wedmore's Inner Circle. And so I've gotten a chance to interact with her, and she has some great ideas about how to market generally. And so I knew I wanted to have her on to help you understand how to use your own Facebook group to build your business. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm not going to give you a sponsor or anything. We're just going to jump straight into my interview with Christina. So without further ado, here it is, and enjoy all the great advice she offers. Welcome to the show, Christina. I'm so excited that you're here.
I am too. I can't wait to dive in.
Now, we're going to be talking all about Facebook groups and how to create a Facebook group and make money with your Facebook group, which I think a lot of people don't do. So we're definitely going to do that. And I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot that I can use. But before we get to that, I always like to ask people something interesting about themselves. And you told me that you had become a millionaire in your mid-20s, but then lost most of it and had to rebuild. So you got to tell that story.
Yes. I know all was good until things changed. So I was, and this is actually something I don't think I've very openly shared about things, but when I was 19, I was convinced that I wanted to buy real estate, and what 19-year-old has this idea in their mind that they're going to buy real estate. And I used to go house shopping. I would go to open houses. I would pretend that I was ready to buy. People would look at me because I'm sure I looked like I was like 13 at the time. Like, who are you? And why are you wasting my time? And I remember saying to myself, one day you're going to wish that you'd been treated me with respect, because I might have bought a home from you. And so I would go through with this belief that I was going to have a house. I was looking at places. I was doing all my due diligence. I'd drive around looking at places for sale. It was where, you had all the Real Estate Weekly newsletters that came up before everything was online. And I'd spend all this time looking and buying a place. And I was actually going to university, and I was on a summer semester. I had the opportunity to get a part-time job, and it was with a financial firm. So I decided, I'm just going to take this job. I'm not going to tell them it's just for the summer. I'll, lean into it. I can work there for the summer, and then I can close it off at the end. So I started working in this financial firm, and I started to see these statements that people had, and I was blown away. I had to recount the zeros, thinking, oh my gosh, are there that many zeros? People have that kind of money. I was completely blown away. And I was going to school for occupational therapy. It's not a high-paying job. It was something about supporting and helping other people. And it was in, the medical space and healthcare space. And so I started, as I was watching real estate pricing started to move, And I realized, geez, I need to jump in on this. Me being, 19 years old at the time, thinking, but I'm going to school. Like, I'm only just at the beginning of working towards my degree. What am I going to do? And I decided that I wouldn't be able to purchase a home and catch this movement in the market if I continued to go to school. And so I actually decided to quit. And I quit school. I bought into real estate. I managed to be able to create equity and build up and be able to create a lot of wealth through real estate. So that's how I made my first million in my early to mid 20s. And then the market crashed and I went through a divorce, and it seemed that everything that was possible that could go wrong went wrong. I was working in the financial industry, and I was remember my paycheck one month was, $16,000. The next month it was $600.
Ooh.
And I started to realize, oh no, what in the world am I going to do? And so from that point on, it was kind of thinking about having everything and having, easy, perfect life, and everything completely gone. And then it came to the place of like working through rebuilding it, but also getting out of your head, because when you lose everything, it's a totally different story than starting with nothing. When you're starting with nothing, there's just such a motivation to move. And once you've had something and you've lost it, you get in your head a lot about all the things you should have done and that you didn't do. And so it took a lot of internal work as well as actually taking steps towards recreating that wealth. So that's my story.
Well, so it's interesting you say that about the mental work. I could see that where you would be second guessing where you made mistakes, but at least I guess you were thinking, hey, I mean, you knew you could do it because you'd done it before. Whereas I think a lot of people just think that, success is something they can never have. So maybe
true. But I would even counter that to say, though, sometimes is that, and I think I see this with so many successful entrepreneurs as well, is sometimes thinking that, and maybe some of your listeners can relate to this as well, is thinking that it was a fluke, or you got lucky, or something just happened, or you happened to be in the right place at the right time. And did you really do something to get that, or did you just totally luck out? And so sometimes you get into that whole conversation of, did you really make this happen? Is it all going to fall apart again? Is there any point in building it up again? So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit, I had that conversation with myself about, did I just get lucky and, luck into things? So I could definitely relate. But we could talk about these mindset issues probably for a long time, because I think we both like these mindset issues, but that's not why you're here. So I do want to talk about building a Facebook group, because that's what you help people do. And I think most of my listeners will generally be on board, but why don't you start with kind of the sales pitch of why people should have a Facebook group?
Absolutely. I would love to. So I think the biggest thing is taking a look at where the market, like where is marketing headed? Where is the online industry headed? And gone are the days where people, I like to call it sort of the guru days, where there would be influencers and no matter, what people would put out, they would say, buy this or do that. And everyone would be jumping at the bit to do that. And they didn't care if there were one to many of the masses. They didn't care if they had personal connection. When there wasn't the social media world, there was such a distance between leaders and influencers in the marketplace than their customer base, than people that they were serving. And it moved into that informational age where information was readily available all over the place. And people are getting more sophisticated in the marketplace, especially in, online marketing space, coaching world, information space. And people are really craving to feel like they're getting real and rawness, authenticity from people, from leaders. They want to feel a level of connection with other people. And so if you think about, if you're thinking about in an industry, multiple different industries, is thinking, do you have competitors in your marketplace? Are other people serving your ideal audience? And the chances are probably yes, right? If you're running a business. So why would someone choose you over everyone else if they have access to the same information, or if they have access to purchase access to the same tactics or strategies? Why would someone choose you over everyone else? And that's the biggest question people have is, why would someone buy from me? What is my standout factor? And the biggest reason why people buy from people is because they feel a level of connection. They're relating to them on some level. And there's no faster way to create that connection with your audience than a community like a Facebook group.
Yeah, I mean, I think all that makes perfect sense, and it took me a long time to figure that out. That people weren't buying my legal templates. I mean, some people buy my legal templates because they just want legal templates, but for the most part, people are buying because they like me or they connected with me. So I think that's great. But why is it that that's easier to do in a Facebook group than in some other community?
So it's the only social media platform, like Facebook groups is the only social media aspect that has community. There's no other platform that is online currently that has the same sense of community that Facebook groups do. And Mark Zuckerberg chose a couple of years ago, he announced actually at one of their quarterly meetings that they were going to put an emphasis on meaningful groups where there was intention, where people were coming together for community, because it would add the length of time that would people stay on the platform, user platform. So they've invested a lot of attention and assets to focus on building out Facebook groups to make it easier for Facebook group hosts to build it out. So why is that the quickest platform? If you're thinking about if you're using email marketing strategies to market to your audience, it's a very cold medium. You're speaking to someone and you send a response and you may or may not get someone to reply back. You don't really know what's going on in their mind, right? Have you ever sent that? So send out an email and you're like, did they like it? Did they get it? Did it make sense? Did it land? And the opportunity in a Facebook group is to get real-time feedback so that you have the opportunity to not only speak into what your ideal clients want, to find out their languaging, to create that connection. They feel like they're in it. They're there with you. They have the opportunity to feel like they're part of something, part of a movement that you're creating within your group. So there's just not another comparable platform that creates that level of intimacy that is also scalable, because when you're serving someone or having a conversation and commenting back and forth with someone in your Facebook group, the entire group has the opportunity to go back and scroll through and read and see how often, have you gone through on a social feed and gone through and read the comments of what people are saying, even if you haven't commented yourself.
Yeah. I think that's definitely true. I mean, I know I have done that. I try not to do that as much anymore. I'm on Facebook now doing very different things. So that makes sense, but walk through what are the things that people do wrong. I want to start there because I know there's a lot of things that people mess up when it comes to Facebook groups, and I think I probably messed a bunch up. So what are some of the big mistakes people make when they're building a Facebook group?
So number one is making it about them. Really?
Good one, yeah.
It is thinking that it has anything to do with you. And here's the thing. People get so hung up thinking, do I have enough value? Do I have enough things to say? They get, it's easy to get in your head. I felt the same way in the beginning before. Like, why is someone going to listen to me? And who am I? And all those conversations. And so get into this internal dialogue of thinking that we need to be perfect. And so what happens is when you think it needs to be perfect, you delay with putting something out there. Things don't necessarily flow. It's about you sometimes posting about needing to prove yourself and prove your credibility and prove your worthiness. And that really takes away from the connection factor. So mistake number one is when people are making it about themselves versus just shining a light on their audience and their community and who it's for, and being able to lead that community in conversation. It makes it so much easier. It takes the pressure off as well. So that'd be number one.
Okay. What's number two?
Number two is pumping out how-to content and overwhelming your audience with too many things to do.
Okay.
And as course creators or online entrepreneurs or experts or change makers, transformational leaders, you tend to want to make a difference for people, right? You want to help people. And I'm assuming that's probably, one of the things that drew you as well into doing what you do, is wanting to help people, wanting to serve people and make a difference. But sometimes we connect that in order to add value and to serve someone, we have to give them a lot of information or give them many things to do. And that's how value is created. And what happens is it does the opposite thing. When we pump out a lot of how-to content and we're answering a lot of questions and giving people steps all the time, what it actually does is it leaves people with, that's great content. I'll save that. I'll come back to it later. That's something that I can work on. But then it leaves them with a whole bunch of things on their to-do list that they'll never get to, so that when it is time to make that offer and allow them to take that next step with you, they're kind of confused because there's how-to content on a whole bunch of different topics. They haven't even gotten started with that. So they're not really ready to do a program yet because they already have so many things on their to-do list of things that they thought were great, but they never necessarily got a chance to do. So it kills engagement, it creates separation, and it also creates overwhelm with your audience. And so adding how-to content is not the way to really truly give value to your people.
Well, so if how-to content is not the right thing to do, what should you be doing in your free Facebook groups?
Great question. So, and let's go to, when it comes to how-to content, doing it sparingly is fine. It's just you don't want it to be all of that. So the three things that you want to be doing in your Facebook group, one thing is engagement, creating engagement with your audience. And there's the right way to do engagement and there's the wrong way to do engagement. Engagement should be doing three things. So connecting with your ideal audience, so that they feel like you really get them, like you're relating to them, you're speaking into how they're feeling or how they're showing up and what's being challenged. You're getting into the conversation in their head. Another thing that engagement does is you want to be able to find out what's going on with them and be able to do market research and qualify your audience and make sure it's for the right people, getting them to share about what's going on, uncovering their hidden beliefs, what they've tried in the past that hasn't worked, what they think the solution is to their problem, what they're struggling with, all those pieces, is getting clear on that. And that's through engagement, purposeful engagement. And then the third piece with engagement is you want to be evoking desire for your paid offers and programs. So you really want to be highlighting the pain points and building curiosity with your audience to take them to that next step that you want them to work with. So engagement number one, and those sort of connect, market research, and evoke desire in your audience. The second thing in your Facebook group is generating leads.
Okay.
So we're all in business, right? To generate leads and make sales and serve, of course. So your Facebook group, and here's a common myth, is that your Facebook group is not meant to replace your email list. It's meant to enhance your email list. But you always want to be making sure that you are getting the assets that you're creating in your business, such as leads and community and following, that you're bringing them back to your email list, which is an asset that you own. If Facebook changes one day and they change the way that they are running groups, or something happens with groups, you still want to be able to own the assets of the community that you've created. So it's really important that your Facebook group is consistently generating leads onto your email list and building your email list for you. It's one of the fastest ways to grow your email list is through your Facebook group and having the organic reach that way as well.
Okay. And so, you do that by posting about your freebies from time to time. Is that how you're doing that, or is it something else?
Yeah, posting about your freebies. You could be running events. You could be doing giveaways, run challenges. You could do expert series, different things that you can be doing, but always giving them a reason to, I always like to say, always have something to invite people to.
Okay.
And so, what happens is, as a Facebook group host, sometimes is you think, I've already said it. I've already invited it. They should already know. I already have it in the description. It might be in the pin post. But people need constant reminders. There's new members coming in all the time. And so always giving them a reason to join your list so that you're always building your email list and going through that. So Facebook Lives leading into the next step with you. Think about your Facebook group is that you get to orchestrate the experience from lead to buyer. And so you always want to be laying those breadcrumbs for each step that you want them to take.
Yeah. And by the way, I love that even though, you teach Facebook groups, you are telling people to get people on, get your members on your email list, because I preach that religiously. And so I'm glad that we're on the same page there and I don't have to, disagree with you. But so what's the third thing? You said engagement, get them on your email list. And then what's the last thing?
And the last one is sales.
Sales. Okay.
Yeah. And the last one is, ultimately you're creating that experience for them and moving them to sales. Yeah. You have to be making offers.
Yeah. And again, I want to put a pin in that for a second, because listeners, Christina earlier said, look, we're in business. And so you should not be afraid to make offers to your Facebook group. If you're afraid, you're in the wrong business, or you need to get over that fear, I guess is what I should say. But at the end of the day, your Facebook group is part of your business. And so if people are going to be offended because you make offers, they probably shouldn't be there. Is that a fair statement, Christina?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we make up in our head too that, we may make up a lot of stories. I remember feeling really uncomfortable. I'm sure you have an experience of this too at some point in time where sales felt uncomfortable or it didn't feel aligned. I remember when I first started on social, I would do some posts and I would add some value. And then I was like a completely different person. When I put out an offer, I'd like kind of move away from it and kind of like put it. And then I'd like, hit the post button and then like cringe and cover my eyes and like wait and then like refresh the screen. Did someone see it? Did someone do anything? Oh, maybe I should delete it. I don't know. And so I was that person before.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. I like to tell people I was always afraid of that with my email list. And I like to tell people that quite honestly, more recently, I don't brag about my spam statistics, but I get more people mark my weekly email where I tell them about my podcast as spam than my promotional emails. And I don't know why that is, but it tells me that my list doesn't get mad at me because I send them an offer. I mean, if they don't like it, they're going to delete it. And that's going to be that. So don't be afraid to make offers. But what I do want to focus on there for a second is the engagement, because I know I hear this. I exaggerate when I say 5 times a day, but I hear it over and over again from people. I post in my group and nobody responds. So what are they doing wrong? And how do you actually get engagement in a group?
This is a key topic that I think is like the biggest pain point for people on social is, how am I actually getting engagement? And there's a few things. So one of the things we were talking about before was mistakes. So doing a lot of how-to content is one of the things that'll actually kill engagement in your Facebook group. So it's important it is to take a look at what can you do is taking a look at the things not to do as well. The other thing is that when it comes to engagement in your Facebook group, that sometimes like, what is the true measure of that? And most people will measure engagement based on likes and comments.
Okay.
Right? And that's the natural thing, right?
Yep.
We think likes, comment.
Right.
But in reality, when we actually take a look at the active members, which you can have access to in the group insights, when you actually look at active members, these are the people that are actually liking, they're commenting, they're also reading, like opening up your posts, and they're watching your videos. And sometimes we exclude, like you and I were talking about earlier in this conversation, talking about kind of being the lurker and going through the news feed and checking out comments and reading comments, but not actually saying something.
Yep.
And so oftentimes buyers in our communities come from lurkers, right? And so I say, you have likers and you have lurkers, and you need both of them, because without likers, you don't necessarily have the social proof, and people think that no one's paying attention. But without the lurkers, you're not necessarily going to see the number of buyers that you would have either. So it's always knowing that people are always watching. And I was, an important thing to do is, be sure that know that people are still watching, even if you're looking at your active members and your active members are clearly there, then your people are actually watching. So some hacks with helping with boosting engagement in your group. Number one, I would say is that you need to maintain growth of your group. Your group needs to continue to grow.
Okay.
That's a big one. So the reach inside your Facebook group is impacted by the level of engagement in there, as well as the growth in your group. So if the growth in your group is stalling or stopping, or it's not been active, if it's non-existent, then it's a good reason why there's not going to be a ton of engagement, because people aren't necessarily seeing your posts. Okay. That would be one. Another one is don't be boring. Like, really don't be boring.
That's probably good advice generally. I mean, and I know that it's kind of a hard loaded question, but I mean, are there types of content that are generally going to do better that will help people not be boring? How about that?
Yes, great. So the thing is, like, have an opinion, right? Have an opinion, take a stand, be a person. Because if all you're talking about is what you do, your area of business, because you're super passionate about what you do, then you're kind of losing people, because you're, again, back to that human connection. People want to know that you're a real person. People love behind the scenes. Like, what's actually going on behind the scenes? Like, what were some mistakes that you actually made? Like, don't be perfect, right? Like, where did you make a mistake? What did you have a realization about? And so sometimes with being perfect, we try and talk about our business all the time and try and be perfect. And everyone just thinks like you're boring. You're just a talking head, and they don't want to listen. So be human, be a real person. So yeah, like behind the scenes posts, sharing about mistakes. Those are a couple of great ways. Having a rant. giving a rant of something that you're like, you've got an opinion about, and taking a stand for something. And this is key here, is that if you can take a stand for something that you feel strongly about in your industry, or something that you are completely against in your industry, that you don't believe in, that you're taking a stand against, then people are going to naturally either be with you or they're going to be against you. And the more that you build in that polarity, the more engagement you're going to see, because people are going to be like, yes, this is my tribe. This is where I belong. This is he or she is so on point. Yes, I agree. And if they're not, then great, they can leave, because you're not meant to serve everybody. And when you try and serve everybody, you speak to nobody.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. One question about the rant though, how often is too often for a rant?
Oh, good question. I think it's not something that you want to do all the time.
Okay.
Sparingly. How often is too often? I mean, honestly, I think that if you're going into a rant weekly, you're still like, it's a bit over the top. People are going to stop paying attention. Maybe it's something that you have something to say every couple of months, that you're really taking a stand about a rant. Maybe it's once a month, but it needs to be something that really feels, not forced. Okay, I'm going to do a rant. So what am I going to rant about? Instead, be like, okay, what's something that's really, it's bugging me. I just got to say something about that, and have it from a place of inspiration versus a place of checking off the box.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably find something to rant about every day if I really wanted to, so. but I won't do that. How about, so let me ask you some other things. How about things like welcome posts? Are those important? Meaning, when, do you need to welcome your new members every week, or is that one of those tactics that doesn't really last?
So welcome post is definitely, I think it's important. When you think, like, if you go to a party,
Yep.
You go to a party and you've never met anybody, you're going to some party, someone, told you about it, you got an invitation, or maybe you're new to town and the neighbor invites you to a party, you have no idea who anybody is. So you come to this party, you walk in the door, and everyone's busy doing their thing. It's like, sort of let yourself in, everyone's talking, and you're kind of wandering around. If you're an introvert like me, thinking like,
I don't even walk around. I end up in the corner hiding.
Where am I going to go? Yeah, hiding. And so I want you to imagine that someone comes over and says, hey, nice to meet you. So great to meet you. Like, where are you from? Let me tell you a little bit about the neighborhood. And, there's a bar over here. Like, go get your drink. Actually, you know what? Let me come with you. Let's go get a drink. And then I'll go introduce you to a few people. You're immediately going to feel connected to that person, and you're going to immediately feel like you're at home, and coming from a place of sort of like, I don't know, like there's some level of sense of safety or belonging there, right? Versus showing up, no one pays any attention to you, everyone's talking their own thing, no one acknowledges you, and you're kind of just standing there like, okay, should I just leave? Because what's the point, right?
Yeah. Well, and what I love, I mean, in my group, I've got, there's a few people when I do welcome posts, and I have to admit I'm not as good at it as I should be. So I need to get better at that. But I mean, there's a couple of members who pretty much every time I do it, they come in and welcome people too. And I assume that actually makes it much more useful than just me saying something, because it'll make it seem like a friendlier place probably.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what happens when you're something that you're exceptionally good at as well, is being real and creating that connection with your people. And so when other people are coming on board and welcoming them, again, it's like feeling like they're part of the group, that they're welcomed in. And frequently having the welcome post, so you're telling people what they can expect from the group, what they can find in the group, and inviting them to share about themselves. As soon as you can get someone with a welcome post as well, encouraging new members to comment with something that's really easy, like where are you from, or something that's not hard for them to do. Because once they cross that threshold with you, like once they've responded in a comment, or you've asked them to do a post, they're 10 times more likely to be active and engaged in your group.
I think that's great. And so let me ask you that, because in that welcome post, you'll tag them. So in that post, would you try the other piece? I guess it was the second piece of list building, or would you not try to list build in that welcome post?
Yes. So, I think one of the things with the welcome post is invite them into and having them, and I would encourage them to go check out the pinned post or the announcement inside the group, where on that post, you then get to tell them that they can come onto the email list, and you have the opportunity to be able to do that. So if you think about this, is that if you're training your audience to follow instructions, I mean, we're talking about kind of like the basic training, but if you're teaching your audience to take a step and they're listening to your instructions, you're training them to later become buyers. Like if you're training them to take these miniature steps, then you're going to encourage them. And so laying out these little mini breadcrumbs is like, okay, they'll be more likely to take the next action step and the next action step with you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And let's be honest. I mean, you and I serve entrepreneurs, so we really need to train them because we all have a bit of ADD and don't like paying attention. So
exactly. Yes.
Let's talk then about like kind of on a weekly basis, how much time does someone need to plan to spend in the group themselves versus I assume there could be posts that you could maybe, have recurring or have a VA do it. But you as the actual kind of owner of the group, how much time do you need to be spending in there each week?
Great question. The big answer question. So I would say that there's two things that you want to do in your Facebook group. One is having passive things going on in your group, meaning like you have pre-posts that are getting populated and things that are happening with or without you, right? They're scheduled, things are happening, it's passive. Right. That stuff's easy. You can spend an hour a week and build out your pre-planned posts for the week and get them all scheduled and set. And so that doesn't really take a lot of time. But you also want to be running some level of active campaigns where it's not always predictable, where you're doing things differently, or maybe you're running a challenge, or maybe you're leading people to a webinar, or maybe you're running some sort of launch or some sort of activity that you're inviting them to. So the passive piece shouldn't take very long with the pre-scheduled stuff. Then you have the active piece, which comes in spurts. So that would be over a short burst of time where you're promoting something, you're leading people into, let's just say, for example, a challenge, then to a webinar, and then to your offer. That's just happening for a short window of time. And when you're in that phase, of course, you're spending a lot more time being engaged and active with your members. Outside of that, though, just on a weekly, regular day-to-day basis, 15 minutes a day is enough time to be able to engage with members when you're purposeful and intentional with the time that you're spending, to be able to welcome new members, or let new members be coming in as your group grows. And if you're going through a phase where you're having a lot of influx of new members, that may take a little bit longer. But as a general rule, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes a day, you can get in and get out with those pieces, engaging with people, commenting on stuff, replying to comments, maybe doing an impromptu post or live stream in there. So it doesn't need to take a lot of time, contrary to what most people think.
You mentioned something there that I want to kind of dig down on letting people into the group. Do you have people answer questions? Do you do anything with the questions you ask? What is your best suggestion for people on that when they're kind of onboarding people in the first place?
Yes. So something that's incredibly important is definitely using that space for the pre-join questions to be able to qualify people in your group. You don't want just numbers. You want the right people coming in at the right time. So let's say, with your first question, I always ask a question where you get to find out about maybe what's the top of mind problem for them or something that's might be standing out. So it gives you lots of content ideas. And it helps you gain clarity on how to describe their problem and what's showing up for them. So for example, it could be, maybe I was saying when it comes to your Facebook group, what's the number one question you'd like to get answered?
Okay.
It's just a simple thing, but it gives you loads of content ideas. It lets you get the languaging of your ideal audience that you can use later on in your marketing. And it gives them something simple and easy to answer. It's something that's top of mind for them. The second question we use as a qualifier. So this is where you want to make sure that they are the right people for your group. So depending on what your audience is and who you're looking for, it could be, it could be a question, are you a Facebook group host or are you looking to start one? It could be, from the business space, and from the business space, do you have an online business? How do you help people? So, is it, for relationships? I have lots of students that are in the health space, or even in helping support people after, domestic abuse or violence. And so, one client in particular, she's, and I'm thinking top of mind is she helps support women after going through trauma. So there's the question about making sure that they're not in the experience of the trauma as well, to make sure that they're fit for the group, that they're not in that that they're not in a violent environment anymore and they're outside of that environment, but that is their come from, making sure that it's a safe place for those people to connect. So if, for someone, maybe it's a mom that, are you a mom, or do you homeschool your children? Whatever it is that is your audience and who you're speaking to, it gives you the opportunity to qualify and make sure that they're the right person. And then the third question is your list building opportunity. And that's where you're inviting people to get onto your email list and get your freebie.
And so how do you do that piece? Do you just give them a link to something, or do you actually use a system that actually does it automatically?
So there is a system that does it automatically, but I personally think that if you have a system that does it automatically and automatically accepts members, then you're not able to filter through as well and really check. I think it's important sometimes to be able to even check at people's profiles, make sure they're not spammers, or make sure that they're a real human, make sure that they're, the right people that you want to have in your group. So I invite people, I say, would you like access to my free, whatever it is, daily marketing schedule or your group checklist or what have you, so that you can get what's the outcome that they're going to get, right? So would you like my free daily marketing schedule to get high-end coaching clients? Right. And if so, enter your email address below. By doing so, you're consenting to, our privacy policy, and we'll include a link there just so that we are stating that just with, crossing our...
Yeah, the GDPR and all that good stuff. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll put that in there, and then I'll have a team member that goes and loads them into a spreadsheet. And then we just take now we're getting into the details of it, but uploading that into our database and enrolling them that way.
And so how often, are you the one who's letting people in, or do you have an assistant, someone who's managing it for you? I
am not. I was in the beginning. Okay. I did it all, I definitely spent the time to do it myself in the beginning, and then hired it out. Okay. And hiring it out is something that's so helpful, but especially in the beginning, I think being clear as to who you are accepting and who you are feeling connected to, so that you're clear on the direction that you're going to give to the person that you hire.
And then, so you did talk about with the email address issue, you definitely do it, but do you also have the people now who are managing it for you? Are they putting the answers that you're getting to that first question into a spreadsheet so you have that somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's one thing with the pre-join questions. A great question that you have here as well is that once you've accepted a member, the answers to those questions are like, poof.
Yeah, gone.
Gone. Whoops. Yeah. So copying those or screenshotting those is something that's important. We actually put them in just like a Google sheet, and then we sort them by category. And then when we're looking for creating content on those pieces, we go to the category and think, okay, what were the biggest responses in this category? My analytical brain is working. What are the biggest number of responses for categories this past month? What are the topics that we're going to be leaning into? So it helps come up with a lot of the content ideas.
Okay. So I think that's a good technical piece, but now let me get back to, at the end of the day, our groups are supposed to help us make money. If they're not helping us make money, they're probably not serving their purpose. Well, not probably, they're not serving their purpose. So how do you actually use your group other than during promotion periods? How do you use your group to really kind of build anticipation and get people interested in buying from you?
Yeah. So there's two types of groups. You can either have a pop-up group, which is a group that you just have open for a campaign, and you're literally just opening up, building conversation and desire around a very specific topic. It's just around that campaign, and then it closes down. So it's a short window. People come in, there's loads of excitement. It leads to the offer and it closed down. The second type of group is, a longer term group where you have open, you're continuing to build relationships, adding value over the, in between. So having some level of schedule, it depends, start with the end in mind always, is where are you leading people, and what's the length of time that you're going to lead people into your offer. So if you don't want to be talking about your offer, the topic of your offer for months and months and months before leading into your offer, because people are going to stop paying attention. You're going to get bored of it and you're going to be tired and you're not going to want to talk about it anymore. So instead, thinking about having some core pillars of what are the key steps that you're taking people through in order to get from where they are to the outcome that they want. So like, what are your core pillar steps? What are the key elements of the topics that you're always referring to? So just like we were talking in this conversation, we're talking about 3 things inside your Facebook group: engagement, leads, and sales. Each of those pieces could be a pillar.
Right.
And so that could be topics speaking about that, where you're now building out small themes related to those topics. So let's say for a health coach, as an example, that they have a product and they are selling, I'm just thinking top of mind of client that sells into a membership. So let's say 1 month she decides that her focus is going to be on hormones, and maybe she's not promoting anything specifically, but she's building a wait list for her membership launch that's going to be coming up. And hormones is one of the balancing out hormones, and PMS and all those things might be the topic for the 1 month. So that month she's building out topic on hormones. So let's say, give you kind of a little weekly schedule here. Monday could be a question that's more about engagement, like just a one line question, right? Do you suffer from PMS? Do you find that you have mood swings? Do you have night sweats, depending on what age group we're talking about? But let's just talk about, some examples. So it's just creating an engaged question that's easy for people to answer, right? It's not, they don't want a big answer to it. It's just like yes or no, simple thing to answer. Then day 2, sometimes we overcomplicate and think we have to add so much value to create engagement. Day 2 could be talking then about how they feel about the topic, right? Like how they're feeling about it. So for example, I might say, how do you feel about engagement in your Facebook group? Mm-hmm. Right. So it's just getting into like the thoughts that your ideal clients are speaking into. So now it's taking it one step further. Day 3, you might start to share about myths or a mistake or that you made, or a miss in the industry, or what's getting taught out there on this particular topic, right? It's where you're starting to get into talking about where people are going wrong and what's not working. Right. And then Thursday, you could do a live stream where you're actually talking about more solutions based on, maybe it's more of a suggestion and it's more content based that day, where you're actually giving them value. And then Friday, let's just say, is you have like a, fun Friday. And it's just something about social sharing or something else that's, maybe unrelated, or share a picture of, share a picture of your pet, or maybe that's not the best example off the top of my head, but something that's just, it's just open engagement of something that you're sharing about. So by planning this out, you're thinking like, that's a whole week's worth of content, but that's not a lot of time that needs to be spent to build that out. And you've asked a qualifier, you've asked an engagement question, you've got into their head a bit, you shared some relatability or context with understanding of where they're at, or share about mistakes that they're probably making right now that you've made, or myths that are in the industry that they may have bought into that they didn't aware. So you're shifting their perspective, and then you've given them some suggestion, something that they can take action towards, or a new realization of a new way to look at things, and your week's done.
Yeah. I mean, the way you described it, the only part of that other than the live stream, the other stuff should take you, I don't even think it should take you 30 minutes to do it.
No.
Week. So, I think that's helpful, because I think a lot of people are afraid of the time commitment. But I do want to talk about something. I learned this from you. I don't remember if it was at our first retreat or if it was some time before that. And I hear a lot of people talk about, how can I revive my group that's inactive and I haven't been posting in? And can you give people the hard truth on that?
Yes. If your group has been dead for a long time and there's been no activity and there's been no growth, then it's not likely you're going to be able to bring it back to life, and you're best off just starting over again.
Yeah. People don't like hearing that. But the reality is, even if you just started building, like if I started adding new people, those people would be less likely to see stuff from my dormant group than if I just started a new group. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're better off just starting fresh and finding the people that actually want to do it. So I had to ask that question because I know a lot of people have that situation. Now, have I missed anything that I should have asked you, Christina? This is such a big subject. We can talk for hours.
So the only thing I would say before, like on the last point that we were just talking about, if it's dead, it's not likely to revive it, is still go take a look in your group insights to check out your active members. Don't base engagement just on the likes and comments. Because if you've got a good percentage of active members in your Facebook group, your group is not dead, and you can bring more of the overt engagement back with the likes and comments. So don't dismiss it before checking that first.
Well, since you said that, now I have to ask a question. What percentage of the total members in your group is a good number for, and I don't know if you're doing it on daily active or monthly active, but what's a good number that you want as a percentage of your total group?
Yeah. And I think it really depends. It really depends on the size of your group. Okay. Because if you have a small group, your group's going to be significantly more active than like if you have a small group, it's just going to tend to have more natural engagement than you're going to see than if you have a big group. The larger your group, you're going to tend to have, sometimes less engagement as you're going through it as well. So that's kind of one key piece with it as well. So when you're looking at your active members, I would say a highly engaged Facebook group is probably going to have 3/4 of their members that are active members. I think as long as you're seeing 1/3 of your members as active members, there's opportunity to bring it back to life. If you have less than 1/3 of active members, then just start again.
and that's on that's on the 28-day cycle. That's the standard, or is that on a weekly? What are they looking at for that?
Yeah, over the last month.
Okay. So I'm glad I asked that question, because that kind of answers a big question. Now, you have a lot of great stuff, and you're actually going into a launch or a challenge or something. So why don't you tell my listeners about that? Because I think there might be some people who would be interested in learning more.
Yeah. So we are going to be starting a Grow Your Group challenge group. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about engagement as one of the big pieces. One of the biggest contributors to that is the growth in your group as well. So I always like to start there and then move into the engagement. So we're doing a 5-day Grow Your Group challenge. And I know members that have gone through this challenge in the past. We've had people go from, an extra 50 members to an extra 1,000 members in a short window of time by just going through the steps that we go through in the challenge. So step by step, day by day, a little assignment to boost the numbers inside your group and feel like, things are working and that it's coming back to life, or taking a group if it's already engaged and active, how to bring new members in so that you get the opportunity to serve more people.
And so it's a 5-day challenge?
It is, yeah.
Okay. And when is it starting?
It starts on April 8th and we go through the 12th.
Okay. So, listeners, if you're hearing this live or, when it comes out, or in the, I guess the week or two afterwards, you can get into that. And I think you definitely should, if you have a group. I'm going to make sure I join, because I want to learn this stuff as well. So where do we sign up for that?
So we will put a link. It's a good question. We're going to put a link. We're going to make a link, and then you guys can come. This is good planning, you guys. We'll do deliveryourgenius.com/Bobby.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have that link in the show notes, but she's got a good name for her brand, Deliver Your Genius, kind of like your online genius. So, she's clearly thinking right. So deliveryourgenius.com/Bobby. And where else can people follow you, find you, connect with you, Christina?
So Deliver Your Genius on Facebook is a great place. One of the things, I think that's like the number one place to come join us, especially as we go into the challenge. There's going to be lots of training videos and lots of talk about engagement and mistakes, and really kind of taking what we were talking about today and going even deeper with some of the pieces. So I think that's going to be the place to be over the next while. So come hop over to the Deliver Your Genius page on Facebook.
Okay. Well, that's where you should go, for everybody. We will have a link again in the show notes, but it's pretty simple. It's facebook.com/Deliver Your Genius. So Christina, thank you. You have already delivered a ton of value. And so I appreciate you coming on and sharing with my audience.
Thanks for having me. Some great questions today.
Okay, listeners, that is it for this episode. I'll be back here again next week with another episode of the Online Genius Podcast. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the Online Genius Podcast. Make sure to tune in next week for more great tips, tricks, and strategies to help you build and protect your online genius.